Hello, everyone. Some empires do not fall because of enemies, but because of the cracks within their own family. Some smiles on screen hid illness, loneliness, and even quiet deaths in real life. From oil wars to heartbreaking love stories, that world became an unforgettable memory for millions. But now, looking back at the cast we once knew, the hardest truth is not that they grew old. It is that some of them will never return. J.R. Ewing, portrayed by Larry Hagman at the age of 47, became one of the greatest villains in American television history through Dallas. J.R. was the ruthless eldest son of the powerful Ewing family, a cold and ambitious oil tycoon who seemed to thrive on manipulation, betrayal, and endless power games. As the driving force behind the Ewing oil empire, he stood at the center of billion-dollar deals and family wars that shook the foundation of everything around him. Whether battling rivals or turning against his own blood, J.R. carried an icy confidence that made him both feared and unforgettable. Long filming days filled with tense confrontations only deepened the sharpness of the character, even as the pressure behind the scenes grew heavier. Larry Hagman was born on September 21, 1931, in Texas, and after the massive success of Dallas, became one of the highest-paid television actors of his era. The role turned him into a cultural phenomenon, making J.R. Ewing a name known across generations. But behind the fame, Hagman quietly battled serious health problems, including cancer in his later years. He passed away on November 23, 2012, at the age of 81 in Dallas, Texas, from complications related to cancer after a long and private fight. His death marked the end of a television legend, whose smile, schemes, and unforgettable presence defined an era. Jock Ewing, portrayed by Jim Davis at the age of 69, stood as the powerful patriarch who built the foundation of the entire Ewing oil empire in Dallas. Jock was not a man of many words, but every decision he made carried the weight of law within the family. Rising from the dry lands of Texas through sheer will and relentless ambition, he built Ewing Oil through bold and often ruthless deals. That legacy became both a source of pride and the root of endless conflict, shaping generations of the Ewing family. His strength, authority, and unshakable presence made him the hard backbone of the dynasty. Jim Davis was born on August 26, 1909, in Missouri, and had already spent decades as a familiar face in American Western films before Dallas. During his final seasons, he quietly battled lymphoma, but chose to keep working, determined not to leave the role unfinished. Davis passed away on April 26, 1981, at the age of 71. Leaving behind the image of a man whose strength on screen was matched by his courage off it. Miss Ellie Ewing, portrayed by Barbara Bel Geddes at the age of 56, became the gentle but unshakable heart of the powerful Ewing family in Dallas. As Jock's wife and the mother determined to keep her family from tearing itself apart, Miss Ellie carried far more than love. She guarded the family's memories, traditions, and the last pieces of its moral compass. While her sons fought endless battles for power, she was often the only one calm enough to see the true cost of greed. She loved J.R., even through her heartbreak over his cruelty, and placed her deepest hopes in Bobby as the family's last chance at honor. Barbara Bel Geddes was born on October 31, 1922, in New York, and had already built an extraordinary career on Broadway and in film long before Dallas. She earned both an Oscar nomination and a Tony Award, achievements that placed her among the most respected performers of her generation. Bel Geddes passed away on August 8, 2005, at the age of 82 after battling lung cancer, closing the final chapter on a remarkable life shaped by grace, strength, and timeless talent. Cliff Barnes, portrayed by Ken Kercheval at the age of 43, became far more than just J.R. Ewing's rival in Dallas. He grew into a symbol of hatred, obsession, and tragedy passed down through generations. As the son of Digger Barnes, Cliff inherited his family's bitter feud with the Ewings like it was written into his blood. Raised in his father's anger, he devoted his life to one goal: destroying J.R. at any cost. But Cliff's deepest tragedy was that the harder he fought, the more he became like the man he despised. Whether as a lawyer, politician, or businessman, his ambition and rage constantly pulled him into painful mistakes. Ken Kercheval was born on July 15, 1935, in Indiana, and began his career on stage before making his mark on television. Off-screen, his life was filled with battles of its own. He fought lung cancer for years, surviving multiple treatments and once saying he had beaten death more than once. He also endured 3 failed marriages and serious financial struggles. Kercheval passed away on April 21, 2019, at the age of 83 from complications of pneumonia after years of declining health, leaving behind the legacy of one of television's most tragic rivals. Clayton Farlow, portrayed by Howard Keel at the age of 59, brought the image of a mature, seasoned, and wealthy man into Dallas. As a powerful ranch owner, Clayton carried a calm strength that stood out in a world driven by schemes and betrayal. He entered the story as an independent force, first as an ally and later as Miss Ellie's husband, placing him directly inside the hidden tensions of the Ewing family. Unlike Jock or J.R., Clayton faced conflict with patience, principle, and dignity, though that often pulled him into battles that were never truly his. Howard Keel was born on April 13, 1919, in Illinois, and long before Dallas, he was already a legendary Hollywood musical star, remembered for classics like 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. His commanding voice and strong screen presence made him one of the defining leading men of his era. Keel passed away on November 7, 2004, at the age of 85 from colon cancer, a disease that quietly advanced and weakened him in his final months, closing the life of a performer whose legacy stretched far beyond television. Miss Ellie Ewing, portrayed for a brief but important time by Donna Reed at the age of 63, stepped into Dallas during one of the most turbulent chapters of the Ewing family. It was an almost impossible task, replacing a character the audience had known and loved for years. At this point in the story, Miss Ellie was no longer just the heart of the family. She had become the center of critical decisions involving wealth, power, and the future of Ewing Oil. Caught between J.R. and Bobby's increasingly bitter battles, she fought to protect Jock's legacy and keep her children from destroying each other. Donna Reed was born on January 27, 1921, in Iowa, and was already one of Hollywood's brightest stars long before Dallas. She won an Academy Award for From Here to Eternity and became a symbol of the American family through The Donna Reed Show. Reed passed away on January 14, 1986, just 13 days before her 65th birthday, from multiple organ failure caused by metastatic cancer. Her passing marked the loss of a timeless star whose grace had touched generations. Bobby Ewing, portrayed by Patrick Duffy at the age of 29, became the face of conscience and decency inside a family slowly consumed by ambition in Dallas. As the youngest son of Jock and Miss Ellie, Bobby constantly tried to keep the family empire on the right path while his brother J.R. manipulated everything for power. Intelligent in business but unwilling to sacrifice his morals, Bobby was often forced to choose between family loyalty and justice. His marriage to Pamela Barnes, a woman from the rival family, turned him into the fragile bridge between 2 bloodlines built on generations of hatred. Patrick Duffy was born on March 17, 1949, in Montana, and stepped into this role while his career was still in its early stages. The success of Dallas made him a star almost overnight. In later years, Duffy faced deep personal loss when his wife of more than 40 years, Carlin Rosser, passed away in 2017 after battling cancer. Even so, at 77, he continues acting and directing, living a quiet life filled with baking bread, gardening, and staying close to nature. Sue Ellen Ewing, portrayed by Linda Gray at the age of 38, became one of the most tragic and complex women ever seen on television in Dallas. At first, Sue Ellen seemed like the glamorous wife of J.R. Ewing, but behind that beauty was a marriage that felt like a gilded cage. Manipulated, betrayed, and controlled by her husband, she slowly fell into alcoholism as her only escape from loneliness. But Sue Ellen was never simply a victim. She fought back through affairs, divorce, custody battles, and, step by step, learned how to reclaim her own life and identity. Linda Gray was born on September 12, 1940, in California, and began her career later than most, first working as a model before moving into acting. This role changed her life completely, earning her Emmy and Golden Globe nominations, and turning her into a symbol of female strength in the face of emotional abuse. Personal tragedy also touched her deeply, including the devastating loss of her son, which led her to step away from the spotlight for a time. Now at 85, Gray remains strong in spirit, spending her days with yoga, meditation, writing, and charitable work. Pamela Barnes Ewing, portrayed by Victoria Principal at the age of 28, became the embodiment of love trap between two warring families in Dallas. As a daughter of the Barnes family who fell in love with and married Bobby Ewing, Pamela's marriage was almost destined to be torn apart by generations of hatred. She was constantly caught between her love for Bobby and her loyalty to her own family, especially as her brother Cliff became increasingly consumed by his obsession to destroy the Ewings. Pamela endured some of the deepest heartbreaks in the series, from failed pregnancies and family tragedies to betrayal and a devastating accident that changed her life forever. Victoria Principal was born on January 3, 1950, in Japan, and grew up in a military family, spending much of her childhood moving from place to place. Though she experienced failed marriages and several film projects that never reached the success of Dallas, she became one of the most successful women to emerge from American television. At 76 in 2026, Principal lives a private life, devoted to animal welfare, humanitarian work, and the charitable causes that have become central to her later years. Lucy Ewing, portrayed by Charlene Tilton at the age of 20, became the symbol of youthful rebellion inside a family where nearly every relationship was shaped by money, power, and secrets in Dallas. As JR's niece and Gary Ewing's daughter, Lucy grew up surrounded by privilege but starved for emotional stability as her parents were often absent. That emptiness shaped her into a reckless young woman, desperate for love but often searching for it in all the wrong places. Through failed romances, family rebellions, and constant clashes with her mother and grandmother, Lucy embodied a generation torn between old traditions and modern freedom. Charlene Tilton was born on December 1, 1958, in California, and had a difficult childhood, growing up while her mother spent years in psychiatric care. Her greatest personal tragedy came in 2009 when her fiancé, cinematographer Chetty Hart, died suddenly from heart failure after a severe heart attack. The loss nearly broke her, but Tilton eventually chose a quieter life focused on family, charity work, and mental health awareness. At 67 in 2026, she still holds on to her love for stage performance and dance, carrying the resilience of a life shaped by both pain and survival. Ray Krebs, portrayed by Steve Canale at the age of 32, brought the image of the loyal, rugged cowboy into a world dominated by suits and oil deals in Dallas. At first, Ray was simply known as the manager of South Fork Ranch, a rough but honest man who stayed on the edge of the Ewing family's endless battles. But everything changed when the shocking truth was revealed. Ray was Jock Ewing's illegitimate son. That secret transformed him from a hired hand into blood family, forcing him into deep personal conflicts and changing his place in the dynasty forever. Steve Canale was born on March 14, 1946, in California and served in the military before pursuing acting, starting with small roles in Western films. After his television success, he turned much of his focus toward painting, sculpture, and outdoor life. Known for his love of horseback riding, hunting, and nature, Canale built a life far from Hollywood scandal. At 80, he is still remembered by fans as one of television's last true cowboy icons, carrying the spirit of authenticity that made Ray Krebs unforgettable. Donna Culver Krebs, portrayed by Susan Howard at the age of 36, brought the image of an intelligent, strong-willed woman with political ambition into Dallas, a world largely ruled by men. Donna first entered the story as the widow of a powerful governor, carrying her own reputation and political influence before becoming part of Ray Krebs' life. Unlike many of the women surrounding the Ewing family, Donna refused to live in anyone's shadow. She often stood face to face with JR, fighting for her beliefs and defending the values she refused to compromise. Susan Howard was born on January 28, 1944, in Texas, and began her career in film and television during the 1960s before reaching her peak with this role. After her success on Dallas, she gradually shifted toward political and social activism, becoming a strong voice on public issues. In later years, her life centered on writing, community work, and family. At 84, she is still remembered as a symbol of independence, strength, and a woman far ahead of her time. Thank you for taking this journey back through these memories with us. Time may keep moving forward, but the faces we grew up with and the stories they gave us will always remain in the hearts of those who remember. Some are gone, some have grown older, but their legacy still lives on. Until the next story, take care and keep the memories close.